Hi, I'm Yes or No, and let's jump into it. I am 31, and you are not. You are in your 20s or something, which means you are still a fetus. Maybe you can learn something from me. Alright, first things first, if you're not the hunter, you're the prey. Hashtag Imagine Dragons, am I right? Yeah, if you're not the hunter, you're the prey. Alright, what do I mean by that? I think most people are slaves. We can add the word wage slave to that if it makes you feel better, but I think if you are not a master, that is to say, if you do not own the assets in the world, then you are a slave and you owe your time and work hours to the masters, to the people who own the assets. That is something I did not realize when I was in college and, Harvard was putting all these ideas into my head, like, you're gonna change the world, you're gonna change the world. I'm like, yeah, I'm so excited for my dream job. I never really stopped to pause and think, like, maybe I shouldn't dream of labor. Maybe life isn't meant for me to give my time and energy to someone else to profit off of. But when I finally kind of woke up in my 20s and realized, oh no, that's what this system is. It's like, if you do not own the assets, then someone else is essentially owning you. I went through a bit of an existential crisis. And I don't know if you've ever read that short story. I think it's called The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. And I am going to spoil it for you right now. The short story is about a world, like a little village, in which every single thing in this village is so beautiful and so magical and wonderful. Then the author turns to you, the reader, and says, "What? You don't believe me? You don't believe that a world like this exists? What if I told you that in the basement of this beautiful village, there's a boy? Well, not even really quite a boy, more like a creature. And everybody in this village knows that their happiness somehow depends on this creature being locked up and wasting away. What would you do? Would you go back into the village? Pretend like you never saw the creature? Or would you, like some people in Omelas do, open up the door, walk straight out of it, and never come back?" Because I tried to do that. When I realized that our entire world, our entire capitalistic society depended on us exploiting the labor of some, for the benefit of others, I tried to walk away from capitalism. I stopped making YouTube videos. I stopped my online course. I tried to stop everything. And I learned the hard way that when you do that, you cannot feed yourself. So this is one thing I think you need to learn about the world. It really is divided into masters and slaves. If you no longer want to be a slave in this world, you gotta find a way to escape. You either become a master or you change the system. I'd recommend doing both. Become a master is the backup plan, but really, always try to be changing the system. But what I mean when I say become a master is, I mean, you need to find a way to start to own the assets. That's essentially what the stock market is, right? You put money into the stock market, into index funds, mutual funds, ETFs, what have you, and then you profit off the labor of others. But basically, do everything in your power to save your money to get you to at least that place so that you have freedom. It's that easy. Unless you want somebody else owning you your entire life, you gotta figure out how to do that. But someone tell me why so serious? Why you so serious? Sorry, did anyone else feel like it was getting a little too serious? Okay, next point. It's time to learn a new thing. Oh man, if I were in my 20s, one thing I would make sure I knew is that there's no such thing as the real world. You spend your entire time learning, going through school, and they're like, yeah, one day you're gonna get to step into the real world. But newsflash, everything is the real world. From the moment you are born, even before that, you are in the real world. So one thing you gotta learn in your 20s is that every experience matters. It's all part of life. Working off that, there's also no such thing as a one-size-fits-all life, right? Even if everyone you've seen is living life on a certain path, doing things a certain way, that does not mean you need to do it. You could go be a banana farmer if you want to. You're like, where did Yes or No get that idea? Well, I saw some bananas. Go do it. There's no one way to live. As long as you're alive, you're winning the game. Okay, but side note, if I could tell you the perfect way to live a life, there is one thing I would advise you to do, other than save more than you spend, because duh. And the system, shout out to Atomic Habits, is 1% incremental changes. And the idea of this is, if you ever look at an exponential graph, is basically when you take something, increase it by 1%, increase it by another 1%, increase it by another 1%, eventually it compounds so much that the growth stops being kind of linear and starts being exponential. You can do that in your life too. And the way that you do that is basically by just once a day, or what I do personally is once a week, you sit down and you reflect on your life. And you say, okay, what did I do last week? What do I want to change in my life for next week? And then you take everything from that reflection, you put it in a little scheduler. Here's the trick. You do it. And what I like so much about that is that it's really personalized for everyone, right? You do not need to do your reflections like I do. But if you are curious about how I do it, basically, I'll show you. All right, so I got these two puppies. This little handy dandy little notebook is my journal where I write my weekly reflections. And once I have my ideas of things I want to do the next week, I put them into my planner. Wow, this is how you know I'm in my 30s. Look at how excited I am about a planner. They used to give these out for free to us in high school, and I never got that excited about those back in those days. You can see I write down all my stuff, I plan it out. So yeah, young fetusi, young fetuses, young fetuses. Those are some things, like, if I were in my 20s, I would want to know. So boom, now you know. Now you go. Bye.